I don't think I'm going to be here forever, right? We were talking about the potential of me being a partner and playing a bigger role in the firm. And I kind of realized, do I see myself here in 3 years knowing what I know now? No, I don't know if I see myself here. Then it became one. Then it became 6 months. And over a course of the week, it went from 3 years to that next Monday. I put in notice and decided to start my own firm.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we will be discussing the struggles and lessons learned along the journey of a seven-figure entrepreneur. It's my pleasure to welcome our guest today, Mitch McDermott with Talent Ascension Group. Mitch, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Looking forward to this.
No, we're super excited to learn a little bit more about you and about your company. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. So Mitch, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, please share with us your story. Where did you start from? Where have you gotten to? Maybe share a few key lessons learned along the way, but ultimately, we want to hear your journey as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Well, my journey started young. I grew up with a dad who was an entrepreneur, and he was very big. I grew up with 3 younger siblings, so big family of 4 kids, and they were very big on instilling an entrepreneurial mindset, right? Living life without limiting beliefs, playing big, dreaming big. Fast forward to where I was about 11 or 12, everyone was getting cell phones and I wanted one. And I was raised in a family where you work for what you want. So my dad's like, great, pay for your phone bill. It's $10 a month. And that was where business number 1 started, called Mitch Shines. I grew up in a community where a lot of folks in the neighborhood were business owners, and 11-year-old me needed to figure out a way to pay a $10 a month phone bill. So I had the idea of my dad, coming home and, I can only get a shoe shine at Nordstrom's or the airport whenever I'm traveling. And there started Mitch Shines, a shoe shine business that I started. So
very nice.
I always knew from a young age I would own a business one day, a real business, and that would probably be my lifestyle. And throughout middle school, high school, I had other little ventures like selling people stuff on eBay, doing video productions for different events. So I always had the bug in me, and I was always very, very disruptive in how I thought, challenging the norm. I didn't like to be told what to do. I wanted to challenge things, make things better. I was always curious why things were the way they were and why they weren't different. Fast forward to my career, getting out of college, I got into recruiting. Loved recruiting, loved the impact of it. I didn't like a lot of the norms of what you would call contingent search, which is technically where we play. It was very high volume, very transactional. I worked for a big firm too, so it was always, focused on volume, hitting KPIs. And I ended up working for a boutique firm. And that's where I really got insight into what it would be like building a recruiting firm. I got hired on by an owner who been around for about 10 years. Company kind of revolved around him, about 5 people underneath him. And I came in and set a new bar for performance. And over time, brought in some new people. The kind of legacy team that I joined, those folks kind of no longer fit the new culture. And that's where I got really fired up about building the business, not just being a recruiter or a sales guy, but redesigning comp plans. We paid our recruiters too much. It wasn't scalable. The whole model was built around the owner being the son, and everyone just orbited around him. So that was really a lot of the projects I contributed to. And this wasn't my job. I was full commission. So I had to recruit. I had to produce.
Right.
This was like 7:30 to 10 o'clock at night. I'm designing comp plans, and I'm figuring out ways to improve the structure, the processes. And, that I got to a point where that was my favorite part of my job, and I wasn't even getting paid to do it. And that's when I kind of realized, I think I want to be more focused on strategy, building a business, a little bit less of an individual contributor. And ultimately, I took over a lot of the day-to-day management from the owner, ran a lot of the client relationships. I actually built my own team, trained them myself. I said, let me replicate me. This is working. Let's create more Mitches. And we did. And we scaled the business to almost 20 people in less than 2 years. And it was a great experience. I learned a ton. I'm forever grateful for that owner. But we did have some different visions in what we wanted to create. I really wanted to elevate our industry. In some ways, maybe more than he did. And I'll never forget this. I made like a 30 slide PowerPoint on basically every idea I had that I thought would elevate the brand, elevate the business model, take the company to the next level. And I remember we went through it in the conference room for about 2 hours each slide. And I'll never forget this. A lot of limiting beliefs. We can't do this because X, Y, Z. This won't work because X, Y, Z. And at that point, I realized I don't think I'm going to be here forever, right? We were
Right.
talking about the potential of me being a partner and playing a bigger role in the firm. And I kind of realized, do I see myself here in 3 years knowing what I know now? No, I don't know if I see myself here. Then it became one. Then it became 6 months. And over a course of the week, it went from 3 years to that next Monday. I put in notice and decided to start my own firm.
There you go.
So that was really the journey of how I got to where I am now. And we've been at this for, it'll be 4 years in February. So we're still a young company, learning a ton. Best decision of my life, hands down. When we started our firm, it was me and my best friend. He's since moved on, learned a lot about having partners, especially ones that are like family. So if anyone has any questions about that, please reach out. But we basically started this out of our apartment. We were 25 years old, super confident. Starting a business was definitely a humbling experience, I think, in a positive way. Helped me grow a lot. We just started running. My dad's company, interestingly enough, is in a similar space. And one of
Oh,
the
okay.
things we did to strategically build quickly was set up a kind of affiliate referral program with their team. They have about 100, 120 people globally. So they have a pretty big team.
Yeah.
And a lot of their folks are, double my age, a lot more established, the network I didn't have. So we went around and essentially said, we want to be a complement to you. We do great work. We're creating this elevated model. Let's set something up where it's worth our while for if you refer us business, we pay a referral fee. And best decision of my life. Within year two, we hit 7 figures, and a lot of it, almost all, was referral based, and it gave us the volume of business we needed to scale the team, to really focus on growth and not have to worry so much about keeping the sales funnel on and keeping that faucet running. It was amazing. I mean, we were 10 people at the end of our second year. And then last year happened. And that was the year I think I've learned more. I feel like I got an MBA in 1 year alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of lessons. I kind of realized in times of adversity, we didn't have a solid foundation for our business. We had so much business coming in. We just hired and scaled and grew, but it was a house made of cards. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't going to be $100 million search firm. And what happened essentially was, in our business, 2021, 2022, those were historically really, really good outlier years.
Right.
Those are my first 2 years as an entrepreneur in this business. I didn't know it wasn't normal. And last year was tough for everyone. And through the adversity, I learned a lot. One, the referral business is incredible. But if you don't control and you can't track and measure incoming business to KPIs, you don't really have a lot of control of the health of your business from a revenue standpoint.
Yeah.
And as we all know, revenue trickles to profits. So we went from 10 people at the beginning of last year to 4 people now. We didn't do 7 figures last year. We let go quite a bit of people, arguably people we didn't need that weren't the right people anyways, but we were so busy, we had to hire so fast.
Right.
When we liked someone enough, when we thought they could do it, we moved forward quickly versus really being thorough, making sure they were people who we could build our company with. And the team we have now is core. We're on pace to tie our best year ever with half the headcount. So I feel like I really earned my stripes as an entrepreneur and kind of an operator in realizing, it's all about the numbers at the end of the day. You want to value people, you want to build your headcount, but it's all a house made of cards. If the profits aren't there to support it, the revenue's not there to support it. So those were some of the big lessons that I learned a lot last year. I mean, I could probably take 2 hours to tell you all the lessons, but those were the big ones for me.
No, appreciate that. That's fantastic. Why don't you go ahead and just pick another one? If you were to say, hey, these are the top 2.
Yeah, I'll tell you this because I can go a little deeper. So I left my last firm. And again, 25, super confident, big ego at the time. I like to think it's a little smaller now.
Right.
And essentially, what happened was I wanted to grow the company based on others' perspectives. I was focused on other people's definitions of success versus my own. And nobody goes around and goes, tell me about your company. How much did you profit last year? How much
Right.
revenue are you doing? Everyone goes, how big is your team? You go on LinkedIn and you go, I wonder how big they are now. You go on People and you see how many employees they have. So I was scoring our business's growth based on headcount, which obviously is not the right way to do it long term sustainably. And now I've really switched that. I want to have a big team because we're going to need to have a big business, but it's all around the scoreboard I'm working off of is revenue and profits, right? Really focusing on the financial health and performance of the business. And in doing so this year, we made a lot of really cool decisions around operational efficiency. So we've lowered our headcount, which was our biggest expense. Being a recruiter, you just need a phone and a laptop. A lot of it's technology, but salaries tend to be your biggest overhead. Um, and we found ways to really create a lot of operational efficiency to keep revenue and profits growing without having to hire someone so often. So it's actually really challenged me to focus on the different levers in my business to find ways to create the most high performance business we can, which ultimately will allow us to employ great people and, offer the kind of culture that can change people's lives. Low performing companies don't have money to do big things with their team and
Yep.
have big celebrations, right? So I realized to be the company I want to be and the employer I want to be for our people, we have to perform at a high level to do the kind of cool things I want to do.
Very cool. I love your intentionality around understanding that, hey, if I really dig in and understand my numbers, that's what's going to be that sustainable, repeatable type of business model that I
Yeah.
need in order to continue to see the growth that I want. Instead of focusing on, hey, I got all this work, I got to do it, and I need bodies, so I'm going to throw bodies at it.
Yeah.
Then you're making uninformed decisions based off inaccurate data. Where if you're looking at your numbers and you're paying attention to what's going on, then you can make very intentional, timely decisions on when to bring in the next hire. How many people do I actually need to reach this next goal marker that I have set for us, or whatever, and you can really engage in that. So,
Yeah,
love
we
love that
got
you
those
learned that.
levers dialed in now. I can look at our business and say, okay, is this a busy week or do we need a hire? And I can make those decisions strategically
Yeah,
without just going off a gut feel, which sometimes when you're busy, you feel like you need it, but one week goes by and you're like, you know what, we got through it. Good thing we kind of just hunkered down and got through the busy season and didn't necessarily hire someone we maybe didn't need at this exact point in our business's evolution.
yeah, yeah. And as you track those numbers and you start to understand the way that things flow and the peaks and the valleys, and you're understanding that, then you can say, hey, look, we can stretch ourselves for a short time because we know that this is just going to last this next week,
Yeah.
or whatever. Where, yeah, if you're not looking at the numbers, you can't. You don't have this
Yeah.
ability to understand. Okay, but what's going to happen? Well, I think we're going to stay busy. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're contingent. So the way our model works is we don't invoice the client until the candidate we place signs the offer, and we're not
right.
owed the fee until they start. Which is actually another lesson I learned too of, be selective of where you put your time when it comes to clients and relationships and partnerships. We lost a lot of money by working with the wrong clients where we gave it our all and we didn't have success. We deployed the capital and the resources, but we didn't get the ROI of that investment.
Yeah,
And that was what I think really made it challenging to learn the first couple of years is our cash collection cycle from when we're putting someone to work to when we're actually seeing the cash in the bank. We were overstaffed and we didn't have enough business to support it. We thought we needed those people at the time because we were busy, but also people weren't performing where they needed to be. Right? It was post COVID, and I think there was an interesting time where people were evaluating where career fits in your overall life. And we weren't getting the level of performance that we needed from our people. And that was a big lesson for me as a leader. I was young. I was 25, employing people around my age, and I felt very uncomfortable having those honest and direct conversations, giving feedback, and knowing what I deserved as an employer. I gave a lot to people, and I pride myself on that, but I also think it needs to be a two-way street, right? At the end of the day, you can have this amazing company people are lining up to work at, but if you're not healthy, that goes away. There is no business. There is no great culture, great environment. So it almost made me realize, no, not one person's worth more than the business, because if the business isn't here, nobody's here.
Yep. No, exactly. No, and I hope the listeners really were listening to what you just said, because you brought up a couple of key points. This idea or concept of, hey, clarity is kindness.
Yeah.
And we need to not be afraid to have these hard conversations, because the more clear we are with our employees, the better that they're going to be able to actually perform.
Yeah.
Because if we're just kind of like, sugarcoating what's happening and dancing around the issue, they're going to think, oh, hey, how I'm performing right now is how he wants me to perform. Okay, everything's good. They're not going to understand. And it's interesting, because when given the alternative, like you said, hey, if we don't perform, we're going to be out of business.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people are able to do. And they're like, oh, yeah, I can give more. And yeah, I can stretch a little bit. And they rise to the occasion. And that's why I love your intentionality of realizing, you know what, we can do this same level with fewer people if we're a little bit more careful and efficient in what we're doing. And too often, I think small businesses, they run into this trap of, hey, I've got to build my brand. I've got to build business. So I'm just going to say yes to everybody that comes along. And really, if you want a strong, sustainable company, you need to be very particular on deciding, whom do I serve? Who is my ideal customer? And that's who I'm going to focus all my attention around. Because exactly like you said, if I'm working my tail end off and I'm getting very small margin, geez, is it even worth it? Or do I make my people happy because I've got high margins? They enjoy working with these particular types of clients. A way better situation to have everybody in. So understanding and taking the time to intentionally be strategic around, hey, who is our ideal client? And let's only work with those types of people and focus all of our energy on that, because that's going to give us the best return, and it's going to keep everybody happy so that they're not hating what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. There's nothing worse than showing up to a job, clocking in, and hating the fact that you have another 8 hours of whatever it is you're about to do, right? It's the worst. So if you enjoy what you're doing, you understand what it means to win, because there's clear communication between you and your leader, man, it changes everything.
Yeah, it really does. And that was a big obstacle for me to overcome as a person, was my imposter syndrome. Again, I was always, and this was even my whole life. I mean, I had to pay my way through college. I sold cars working for Mercedes. So I was selling, 100 grand S classes to business owners, and I was 19.
Right.
So I've always been the youngest person in the room. And I think it took me a while to really view myself for where I am, right? Like, someone's got to be the CEO. And now I can happily say I've really found my role in our business as a leader in the market throughout our network of, not one up, one downing myself, but knowing, hey, we're all here for a reason. We want to help each other grow. And at the end of the day, we're all just figuring it out. Whether you're running a $100 million business or a $1 million business, problems are pretty much the same. It's just the level of scale. It never really goes away. And that's, I think, a beautiful lesson I learned from my dad is when we had our really tough year, they were going through similar things as well. And I realized, same problem, just different payroll number you're trying to make, right? And it kind of woke me up to realize, like, this isn't the hole I'm in. This is just what it's like owning a business. This is normal. The universe always goes back to even. Some years are going to be incredible, and it's going to be really easy to do incredible things. Some years it's going to be really hard just to hit your baseline. And that was a big lesson, I think, for me, of just shifting my perspective from a mindset of scarcity, right, where you're taking on any business that's coming to you, but not being selective, versus a mindset of abundance. If I say no to the wrong things, I believe the right things are still going to come to me. I'm going to find them. And if I work hard and I do the right things, everything will even out at the end. And we're starting to see that now this year as we're coming back up to potentially have a record-setting year, which going into this year, my goal was just to get out of debt.
Right.
I wanted to be debt-free. I wanted to focus on growing off of our profits. And to do that, we had to pay off some debt that we incurred to get through last year. And now looking at us, almost, a little less than a quarter to go, we're on pace to potentially set a record this year, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you and your
Thank
team.
you.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Mitch. What an awesome journey that you've been on, and I love your intentionality around each situation that you found yourself in, understanding that, hey, this is an opportunity to learn and to grow, and then taking that knowledge and then utilizing that in a very intentional way to continue to move forward. What a great example. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit now.
Yeah.
So as you continue to strive to be the leader that you want to be within your organization, you had mentioned that you're trying to set this culture and you really want to have this dynamic presence within your company. And as you're continuing to build and develop this team of yours, which, yeah, you scaled back a little bit, but you're ready to go now. You're figuring some things out. You're ready to start scaling again. What are some things that you're doing with real time that we can have a conversation about?
Yeah, absolutely. Biggest thing right now for me, two things is as we've leaned down, I had to get more hands on. So carving out more time to work on the business, right? We're going to do, let's say this year on the low end 1, higher end 1.2, 1.3. I want to do 5 next year. That
There you
takes a
go.
lot of strategic planning, a lot of intentional time, figuring out the how and the what. And I'm realizing I am a little too busy where, I need to focus more time on the business so I can get out of some of the day to day and focus on really scaling the company. Another big thing too is when we got really busy and things weren't going well, I didn't take a lot of time to develop our people. We stopped doing one-on-ones. It was all about putting out the fire. It became survival mode versus
Right.
growth mode. And that's something I changed this year where we're taking a lot of time to really nurture and develop our people. I'd say the team we have today is really the nucleus of our business. This is a year
Awesome.
we've really set a foundation, right? Last year, we learned it was a house made of cards. We have a scalable model. We know that. We're proving it. We're doing more with half the team we had, right? This is something we can take to the next level. But our people, again, we're all young. We're all under 30. So we have to develop fast to meet the needs of the business. So all of our employees actually have a life coach. It's something we offer to help them develop and grow,
That's
but
awesome.
also taking a lot of time with them on really honing in on their visions, seeing where they can play and support me as we grow, because obviously I can't do everything.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at actually right now. We're going to have a big meeting next week to really talk about what role everyone wants to play if we close our eyes and wake up and we're a $10 million company. And how can we start filling those roles now, right? Be it now to become it. And that's a big lesson I think I'm realizing is you don't just wake up and you're a $100 million company. You
Right.
become a $100 million CEO and then you build a $100 million company. And that's something I'm learning through my own growth and development too, is playing bigger, evolving myself to be the kind of guy that runs a $100 million search firm one day.
Yeah, no, and I hope everybody paid attention to that because that's a huge thing that we try to teach all of our members that we work with is understanding that, hey, look, your business cannot grow faster than you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't. And so you need to be constantly, developing and changing and modifying and pivoting.
I think that's my favorite part of being an entrepreneur, honestly, is the constant growth, the
Yep.
constant lessons. Like I am one of those people. I'm not an academic learner. School was never much for me. I checked the box on the degree because I felt like I had to have the career I wanted in the business
Right.
world. But I love learning and I love growing and challenging myself. And I've really gotten to a place too where I think some of the things that can be scary, I've kind of switched it in my head to where, like I have to have a hard conversation with the customer about invoices that aren't being paid. 2 years ago, I would have been so afraid. Now I'm like, I haven't had to have a hard conversation with a client in a couple months. Like, keep it fresh, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's good to constantly put yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think I'm a little bit addicted to that growth, and it's something I love a lot. And to touch on another point, not to tangent too much, but I know you said a couple of things that we're going through currently. Uh, one of the big things for me is really building our sales channel, right? We were almost 100% referral based. My goal next year is to do 5 million and have half be business we're sourcing internally. So we strategically segmented our team. Now we have someone 100% focused on business development, setting appointments with CEOs of companies. And we really switched our approach. And this is something that might be helpful for other listeners because in today's world, it seems a lot harder to stand out, right? Everything's become very commoditized. Every industry, for the most part, has become very saturated. You get hundreds of emails a day from random companies. One of the things that is helping us build relationships is picking up the phone. Nobody does it anymore. You'd be shocked how many meetings we sit on with a CEO and said, I get emails all the time. Your person called me and they sounded sharp and I want to learn more about what you're doing. And it's really
That's awesome.
interesting to see as companies and businesses utilize technology, you lose the human element of your business. And I think post-COVID, we're seeing that. So one of our strategic pivots, we work nationwide and we've done it since the beginning, is I realized you can't build a relationship over Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom is the new phone call. And if you want to scale a sales organization, the way to stand out and differentiate yourself is be the person who's willing to come out and see the customer. So it's interesting. That's been a big shift that we've made probably in the last quarter. And we are seeing a massive uptick in results just based on not boiling the ocean, looking at every company in the US that fits our parameters, but actually laser focusing. I'm in Southern California, Orange County. So we're mapping out LA to San Diego, which is
There you go.
about an hour and a half to the furthest point of each, right? And let's go meet with companies, build relationships, get to know who they are. And one, from a qualifying standpoint, right? We're at a point where, I don't know if we really need a cell search. I think we're at a point where we want to build relationships. We want customers that we can help scale their businesses. That's where we get the fulfillment. It's not about putting a butt in a chair. It's about driving impact in people's lives by putting them in great companies. But for me, really seeing the companies we work with grow and seeing the impact that the talent we put in has on the organization's vision.
Right. No, love that. So, going back to your first thing that you're dealing with when we're talking about getting ready to scale and you have the smaller team and you're getting ready to branch into this goal. So you're setting yourself up here and saying, hey, next year we're going to clear 5.
Yep.
Well, one way to intentionally bring on the right people at the right time in order to accomplish that is through an org chart.
Yep.
So one thing we teach is you go and you take and you say, okay, let's look at the business right now today. Let's create an org chart. I'm going to take all the names off of it. I'm just going to put the roles. I'm going to start with the CEO and I'm going to work it way down. Then you take your team and you start putting them back in. And then that's when you're realizing, okay, we're wearing a lot of hats. Well, that's normal for small business, right? You wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And so you start putting people's in and you're noticing, wow, this one guy, he's wearing 5 hats right now, right? Now I'm wearing 3 and he's wearing 4, right? And you figure that out. And then you say, okay, we have this goal. The end of next year, we're going to clear 5. So what does reality look like when we reach that point? Then you create what you call a future org chart. And you do the same practice, right? But this time you're saying, okay, these are all the roles that need to be in place if we're making, clearing 5 at the end of next year. This is how many people I'm going to have. Then you take today's people and you put them in and you start filling in the roles. And then you look and you see all the empty roles. And you say, okay, between now and then, those are all the roles I need to fill. And I need to start backfilling some of these responsibilities that some of my employees today are wearing multiple hats, because as we scale and we continue to get bigger, right, their bandwidth is going to get eaten up. And if they're doing 5 roles, it's not going to continue to work. It can work right now, but as we continue to grow and scale, we need to get more fine-tuned into each role. And so we need to start bringing in people that they can take those off their plates one at a time. So then twofold, you have a list of roles you know you need to fill, and you have a list of the roles that you need to backfill so that you can start letting people just assume their own role. And ideally, then by the time you reach the end of next year, you've now grown into this future org chart, and then you're doing the same practice over again. You're
Yep.
creating an org chart of today, then you're creating an org chart, a future org chart for where you want to go and the next thing. So whether that's, next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, you get real clear on where it is you want to be by setting your destination. So here at Elite, we look at this as part of your vision. So we think of vision as purpose, values, and mission. Your purpose is your why. Why do we do what we do? Why do we get out of bed every day, right? It's this 100-year thing that everything that we do is going to serve this purpose, but we're not actually going to arrive there. We're not ever going to be able to fulfill the purpose, but each day we're going to work towards that, right? We're going to serve that. Then your values, that's who we are and how we show up. And then the mission, that's where you get real clear and you say, hey, this mission, this is this destination that we're going to arrive at. And we're going to get there in the next 3, 4, or 5 years. We're going to get real clear on exactly at what day and time are we going to reach this. Mm-hmm. And then that's when you do that strategic work and you say, okay, what strengths do we have that we need to leverage? And what strengths do we have that we need to develop in order to ensure that we can reach this destination? And then you start thinking through all the ways to do it. Because what got us to this point right here, we built this business, we built this engine, it's running, that's our daily operations. But what got us here isn't going to get us there.
Yeah.
So now we have to think, okay, what do we need to turn on? What do we need to develop so we can turn it on so that we can reach this destination? And that's going to create this clarity and alignment within your organization as you start to bring in these new people. They're going to go right out the gate. Hey, I either am in line with this purpose, I'm a core values fit, and I'm bought in that we're going to go reach this destination. I'm super excited and stoked about it. And then now everybody in your organization is now drawn to this bigger purpose. Hey, I'm serving something bigger and better than myself. And as an organization, we're going to go after and accomplish great things together. And that's how you can intentionally start to scale in a way that you can create the culture that you want and have that clarity and alignment with everybody, that they know what they're serving and where they're headed, so that you all are razor focused on, okay, everything we do is so that we can reach that destination and making sure that we serve this purpose. So now you have this next level filter of decision making across the board for everybody in your organization of, hey, I'm going to be able to quickly identify yes or no to serving this client. Does it serve my purpose? Is it going to help me reach my mission? If it is, awesome, yes. If no, then yeah, no thanks. Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's not best for us, and it's probably not best for you, because it's not going to be a win-win, and then there's going to be friction, and it's not going to be the ideal situation. And we are going to serve you to the best of our abilities, and we want to just wow you with the experience. We can't do that if you're not the ideal customer.
Yeah. Yep. And it's interesting you brought up value. We call our values guiding principles,
okay.
But same thing. Vision, mission, purpose. I was just talking to one of my people this morning. We're about to go on our third iteration. So when we started the company, my executive coach, my partner at the time, we sat down and we really thought through those things. And then about 2 years later, we went through kind of a branding, right? At first it was, let's just get a website, let's get a logo. You just need to have something for people to look at. And then we realized, well, we have a brand now. We have clients. We built $1 million business. Let's invest in a website that matches the perspective we want to create for ourselves and how companies view us. And that was where we really looked at our purpose, values, mission, vision again, and looked at what do we know now that we didn't know then, and how does that affect this? And we're kind of at that point again now where I realize we've got a solid foundation to scale a business. What is our purpose? How has it maybe changed? Maybe it hasn't, but you don't know unless you look at it. And it's interesting because I think, and I've seen this with organizations where you set it and nobody ever goes back to go, is this still relevant?
Right.
How have we changed, and how should we make changes to this? So when people look us up, when we make decisions, we're really doing it from a deeper place than emotion or gut response.
Right.
So it's interesting you bring all those things up. We're kind of in the in the point of doing that now. And I'm planning a meeting with our team next week, like a 2-hour strat planning on exactly some of the things you talked about. Where do you want to be in 2 years? What role can you see yourself playing from a firm standpoint, right? Everyone's got a main role right now, like recruiting or sales, client management. But what's a second role that's more passion driven, that aligns with your long-term career vision of where you want to play here? And then really just setting the strategy, really lasering in on our, total addressable market, or TAM.
Yeah.
How can we be even more niche? The longer we go at this, the more niche we're getting with the kind of clientele we want to work with, and where
Right.
we think we can make the biggest impact. So it's interesting that you brought a lot of this up, because this is we're in that point of evolution of looking backwards and going, is all of this still relevant for where our business is today and where we want it to be tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. No, and that's exactly what too often we fail to do in small businesses. We get stuck in the day to day, putting out fires and running the business, that we don't take the time to be intentional about thinking about this long term strategic work that's got to be done, because we have to plan for the future. And this machine that we got, it's great, it's awesome, but we need to continue to adapt it and change it and modify it so we can continue to serve and stay relevant in the eyes of this ideal customer that we're narrowing in on each and every time that we serve somebody. So yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Well, best of luck to you and your team as you go into that. That's fantastic. It's going to set you up for better success, and it's going to create that clarity and alignment that you're looking for. Well, Mitch, it's just been a fantastic call. Thank you again so much for joining us. For those of you who are listening in, if you've liked what you've heard from Mitch and Talent Ascension Group, Mitch, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and your company?
Yeah, great question. LinkedIn's always great. As a recruiter, I always think it's a great way to build your network and, see what people are up to. But also feel free to send me a direct email. My email is my last name, McDermott at talentascension.com.
Awesome. Well, you heard it there, folks. If you're interested in getting a hold of him, reach out. And if you heard something today in the episode that you're like, man, I really like that, and I should probably do that, take action. It's not until we take action that we start to see the results that we need. Don't let fear dictate your ability to take a step forward and actually act on that desire that you have. And if you heard something today, you're like, you know what? I know somebody that could benefit from this. Please share this podcast with them. Let's create as much value and spread it as far as we can to hopefully impact as many lives as we can. Well, it's been another great episode of the 7 Figure Journey podcast. And until next time, take care, guys.
Take care.